Yes, team, welcome back to another episode of the High Performance Coach podcast. Today, I wanted to take a deep dive into 3 absolute essentials that you now need to have in your coaching business, which will fundamentally become the machine and the very thing that's going to give you the stability and the opportunity to now be able to really grow and have an even greater impact moving forwards. And that is your results, your retention, and also your referrals. So if we break this down and we have a look at each one by one, right now, what does a result now look like to you in your business? What does the first initial primary outcome now mean and look like to you? And then also secondary as well, because getting a client from A to B is one thing, but then what? Then where do you go? Then how can you support, enhance, and also help them? And also, what does that now look like? How are you currently displaying those results? Because so often results are so much more than just a before and after, especially dependent upon the coaching domain that you currently operate within. So how are you actually displaying those results? How consistently and frequently are you displaying those results? And right now, how much of a go-to are you in the marketplace within the field of expertise that you're now looking to operate? Additionally to that, I want you to be able to think about, have I now been able to live the results that I now say that I get? Do I now live and breathe what I say that I do? Have I now got evidence that now can show others that I have now been able to follow through and do the do? And I've been able to use myself as almost this sculpture for me to be able to now craft and develop and experiment. And also, have I now been able to learn? Because inside the High Performance Coach, we have like a saying where you have to live it and you also have to learn it. Being a good coach is not just about now actually living and breathing what you say that you do, but it's also now being able to acquire and develop the coaching skill, the coaching communication, the coaching acumen, in order for you to now be able to understand how you can then actually coach people to those results, to the outcome, to long-term behavior change. Because you cannot just now use what you've now done on yourself and then basically then expect a client to do exactly the same. Coaching is a skill, coaching is an art, and coaching is a science, which is exactly now why we have our head of coach development, Jen, inside the High Performance Coach, alongside Dan, who's our head of athletic performance, who are both absolute MVPs and leaders in their domains in the industry. So I want you to think about, have I now been able to live it and have I also now been able to learn it? And living it is not just getting from A to B, it's then actually how you're currently living consistently right now in alignment with your values and actually what your coaching business and your coaching brand now fundamentally stands for. Because you can only ever take, I believe, somebody as far as you've now taken yourself. And the further you now take yourself, the more that you can start to draw upon the lessons, the experiences, the stories. You can empathize, you can relate, you can obviously now demonstrate, but of course you don't then basically just want to put what you've been through and your experience onto somebody and that's how it should be for them, because that's ultimately where the learning, the education, the skill and the acumen of coaching, and if you can combine the living it and also the learning it, that's really when you can now ascend, you can have a huge impact, you can coach on an even higher level, and I believe that you can yield and get even better results because of the relationships, the trust, and also the buy-in that comes as a byproduct of obviously having those. And this is, of course, going to be directly correlated to the level of retention that you're now acquiring. And question to ask yourself, like, do you even know what your customer lifetime value is at this present moment in time? Do you know what your monthly churn rate is at this present moment? What are all the reasons that a client would now stay in your coaching program? This was a question that I asked our coaches a couple of weeks ago. What are all the reasons that a client would now stay in your coaching program? Because coaching is not transactional. It is not just a check-in and then you sending some long response on a weekly basis back to them. I believe that it's so much more than that, and I believe that's an episode for another day. But just looking at, okay, why would somebody now stay with me? Not because you're trying to, string them along and you want them to stay with you for the sake of it, but because there's purpose and there's intention and there's actually a coaching process, and there's also this opportunity to now be able to continue to develop and nurture and build those relationships that allows you the opportunity to now be able to coach, guide, lead, support, hold space. And not only that, so often people come for the results and the expert, aka you, and the results they want to attain, but they stay for the community. So how strong is your community, and also do you have a clear customer journey? Because like I'm driving back to Devon to see my family tomorrow, for an example, but I need to now have a roadmap and I need to see where I'm going, the roads that I'm going to go on, how long it's going to hypothetically take me, because if not, I'm going to jump in the car and then I'm going to basically just be kind of pointing down a road and I'm just then trying to guess where it is that I'm now going to go, which is why the customer journey and the ability to be able to allow them the opportunity to see where they have the ability to now be able to like move forwards and progress is going to be absolutely key. And that's the process, but of course you coach the person obviously within that. So retention wise is going to be such a key core component of like longevity and actually you now being able to build an even greater community. And so often it's looking at what are all the other components and what are the needs and the emotional concerns of your clients, and now why would they stay in your program. And one little thing that I spoke about with the guys and girls inside the program was creating this I am identity. So as an example, like we all like need belonging. We all want to be part of something. So even for us, like having like I am a high performance coach gives them obviously that identity. It makes them feel like they're part of something and it's something they're now stepping into, most importantly. So think about how you can start to do exactly the same with your culture, your community, creating that ethos and creating that brand that they now feel massively aligned to. And then finally, how consistently and frequently are you currently getting referrals? We now believe inside the High Performance Coach that the majority of your business should be entirely based upon referrals. That now is going to highlight that you're doing an incredible job, you're getting great results, your clients are now raving about you, and they also want to now be able to tell others about the experience and what it is that they are now going through. Now, of course, you're always going to have some people that are going to want to be private. There's always going to be some people that want to be able to almost like keep you to themselves per se, and it's their thing, which is completely understandable. But how easy are you making it for them to actually refer you like crazy? How often are they now sharing what it is that you now do? And so often that's of course going to be the results that they get, but actually the small personal details, the person first centered approach that we now look at. So what are all the reasons they would now like fundamentally talk about you? So like two simple things that we now do inside the High Performance Coach is we send everybody like birthday chocolates. So really, really simple. As soon as now somebody joins the program, my mum, who is like head of client concierge, basically pulls and extracts all the necessary data, then puts their birthday into a calendar, and then we get notifications when people's birthdays are coming up. We then basically will send them chocolates in advance of their birthday with a personalized note, and that's just something that is just a small additional touch. And that is something so often that if you follow my social media, you'll see that our clients and coaches share like pretty much all of the time, and I believe that hopefully we're going to be having some shares in Hotel Chocolat moving forwards as well, because of the amount of chocolate boxes that we've sent out over the last couple of years. The other thing we do is obviously send out the welcome packs with the branded t-shirt, the hoodies, the hats, the protein bars, the book, the logbook. So again, like even if we are like not getting like tags and or people are saying like this is basically what I've had through the post, which so often they do, because again it's that additional personal touch. Even if you now see our coaches in videos and photos, if you're on their Instagram grid, you will see the High Performance Coach like everywhere. And whilst obviously that's not a direct referral, that's an indirect like way of marketing and of course creating that connection. So right now, why would your clients refer you? And how easy can you make it for them to refer you? Have you got a system in place that you can now use? And also, have you got a referral system that you can actually now facilitate so you can now make it a win-win-win? When we think about referral systems, quite often we think about, right, okay, how and what is the person that's referring going to get? But the best way for you to now be to build a referral system for you to like really kind of make sure that everybody wins is the client that now refers somebody obviously gets something. The client's friend that has now signed up or they've referred now also gets something, and you get the opportunity to impact, try and transform and change their life. So it might potentially be the client that's now signed or referred a friend and has now signed somebody up, gets 200 quid. The person who now basically is joining the program gets 200 pounds off the program, and you get the opportunity to help somebody. It may now cost you, hypothetically, 400 pounds to acquire that client, but if you now know that your average lifetime client value is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months inside the High Performance Coach, we're 2+ years, Like, although it's maybe cost you as an investment and from a marketing perspective, £400, of course, you get the opportunity to help somebody. You're bringing somebody in that's now actually incredibly aligned because they're a referral. So therefore, there's going to probably be a greater degree of trust. It's also going to be the most efficient way for you to now be able to bring new leads into your company. And again, fundamentally, every single person now wins. Now, this is something that you can have as an ongoing, or it's something you could now do like on certain months of the year. Which again may potentially make it even more unique. But ultimately, of course, it's going to come down to the experience that you provide, the relationships that you now create, the above and beyond service that you now deliver. And I spoke to our coaches again about a little story about how I went to a restaurant a few years ago. We went there on the first night and we also went there on the last night. The first night, the wine was amazing, the menu was incredible, the views were absolutely spectacular, the ambience was epic, and we basically walked away from that restaurant being like, that's probably one of the best meals we've ever had. It was absolutely like just out of this world. And it was just something that we just raved about for the entirety of the trip. So much so, on the last day, we basically went back. And exactly the same menu, exactly the same wine, exactly the same ambience and views. But we left feeling a little bit underwhelmed and a little bit flat and deflated based upon the experience that we had now had. The only difference was the front of house and the waiting staff. On the first day, they made us feel so unique, so special. They went above and beyond, like the care, the attention to detail was incredible. The restaurant was fully booked, and yet we were made to feel like we were the only ones in the restaurant. On the last night, exactly the same, except for the waiting staff did their job. They, were polite, they were courteous, they delivered our food on time, etc. But there wasn't that extra energy, passion, charisma, care. And my point being is that every single coach in the industry is providing a program. They're giving plug and plays. They're giving accountability. They're sending check-ins on a weekly basis. They're all fundamentally giving the same menu. The difference is your energy, it's your passion, it's your charisma, it's your connection. It's your personal detail that you now basically bring to every single client. And it's the way in which you now make them feel, which is going to be absolutely huge, above and beyond just coaching them through some type of transactional process. And that's also going to be where you're going to get the greatest amount of relationship and also buy-in, trust, and then also the likelihood that they're now going to basically want to talk about you to everybody else. And then if you have a brand, you have an I am identity, and you have an incredible culture and community that's now wrapped within, where they now feel aligned, they feel connected, they feel safe, they feel part of something that is bigger and greater than them. Again, these are all the perfect ingredients that you now need if you want to be able to build something spectacular. And this is something that takes time, it takes energy, but when you nail it, it will be the most powerful and profound thing that you can now do. I recorded an episode on like how to build a world-class community a few months ago. So if you scroll back, there should be an episode on that as well that you can check out and you can listen to. Incredible results, better retention, consistent referrals. If you are now doing those core three, when you then press the marketing button, when you now press the lead generation activities, and when you now really start to spend a bit more time in that aspect, in that area, what you're now going to be able to do is going to fundamentally take you to the moon. But they are the foundations from which your business now needs to be built upon. That will actually do a lot of the legwork for you initially, but that's the very priority and the very focus that we need to have. And it's not magical, it's not sexy, it's not weird, it's not wonderful, it's not going to be instantaneous. But if you can now build those three and develop within those three, what that's going to now do for your longevity and for your growth, your impact, your success, and also fulfillment as well, I believe is going to just really allow you to kind of continue to ascend and really kind of build something spectacular that is going to be something that's going to align to you having the impact that you now know that you have always wanted to have, and the reason why you've probably got into this industry. So I hope that's given you a little bit of clarity, and of course, any questions I would absolutely love to know. My inbox is always open. The coaching doors to join the High Performance Coach at this present moment in time is completely closed. We have now opened a waiting list. We are currently going through a huge evolution and improvement in terms of now actually enhancing the experience and what we're now currently providing for our coaches even more so. That has been and will always be the absolute priority. So if you have been interested and or curious about how the high performance coach can help you, then feel free to drop me a message or join the waiting list. And of course, we can have a conversation and explore a little bit further. And when the doors reopen, you'll be the first to know. And for us to now be able to connect and understand whether we're now going to be aligned, the right fit, and or whether we now believe that this is something that we can now move forward with as a team. And as always, if there's anybody that you now think would find value in this episode, then I'd absolutely love for you to now be able to share it with somebody. Thank you as always. I appreciate you and look forward to catching up with you soon.